When a major challenge hits your organization, creativity is usually the first thing to go. You don't want to be figuring out your internal sign off process or looking for a PR firm's phone number while the narrative is already setting in against you. Today, we're talking about the break in case of emergency plan, why you need one, what to include, and how to ensure your team moves from scrambling to responding in under 72 hours. I'm Tommy Zai, an onboarding consultant here at Quorum. We've spent the last few episodes mastering the modern policy workflow, building early warning systems, and streamlining your daily tracking. But even the best steady state workflow can be upended by a sudden crisis. So today we're talking all about political risk management, the art of anticipating and responding to political changes before they cripple your operations. This is an extension of the issue management system we've already built, but it's designed for crisis mode. Whether you are facing a sudden regulatory shift, a reputational threat, or a clash with a presidential administration, you need a plan that is ready to go before the emergency happens. I like to point my clients toward what I call the Harvard response strategy. Recently, when Harvard University faced intense demands from the administration, they didn't just hunker down, they stepped up in a short 72-hour window. They did two things perfectly that every team can learn from. One, they quantified the impact. They didn't just use talking points, they laid out specific numbers regarding innovation, costs, and economic impact. Number two, they centralized the narrative. They built a single destination, a website in this case, where news, supporting statements, and facts all lived. This made it incredibly easy for allies and the press to amplify their side of the story. The strategy here is simple. When you're under pressure, you need to make it as easy as possible for people to find the information they need to defend you. To build your own emergency plan, you first have to identify the risks. In a modern environment, political risk isn't just a new law, it can come in several different forms. It could be legislative and regulatory shifts, sudden change to tax codes, employment laws, or environmental rules. It could also be geopolitical instability, conflicts that disrupt your global supply chain. Could also be narrative and reputational risks. This is a newer one for the 21st century, like a social media story that's going around highlighting your industry practices in a negative light, or key internal stakeholders getting put in the spotlight for the wrong reasons. For each of these, you need to assess the probability and the severity. As an onboarding consultant, I suggest focusing on the top 20% of risks, the ones that would actually threaten your business continuity. If a risk is gaining momentum, that's when you pivot from monitoring to mitigation. In Quorum, this is where we suggest using our Brief Builder tool. It allows you to quickly turn complex data into a single briefing deck or one-pager PDF to equip your executives with the data they need to advocate for a favorable amendment before the narrative is locked in. Now, let's talk about the actual plan. You need to map out your communication pathways in advance so you don't waste time on logistics during a crisis. Here are my 4 recommendations. 1. Have the messaging ready ahead of time. Write out your value proposition and economic impact statements now while things are calm. 2. Know your task force. Identify who needs to be notified when a threat arises. In Quorum, we recommend setting up a crisis dashboard to store your standard operating procedures, SOPs, and talking points. This ensures that when an alert is triggered, the right people are all tagged and have the same single source of truth. Number three, define the go button. Who's convening the meetings? Who internally signs off? Who actually presses go on a public response? And number four, activate your allies. Know your 100 key influencers and have your coalition ready to make statements on your behalf. If you have to go public, this is where you can use a tool like Quorum Outbox. It lets you rapidly turn insights into staff emails and grassroots alerts with just a few clicks. If you don't have a dedicated tool, the principle here is the same. You need a prepared email list and a pre-drafted call to action for your supporters. The hardest part of an emergency plan is making time for it when things are quiet. My takeaway for you this week is to carve out a Friday afternoon or even a team retreat dedicated solely to your break in case of emergency plan. Identify your top risks, map your sign off process, and write your core messaging now. Even if you never have to use it, the exercise will make you a better communicator for every other issue you face. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Policy Wins. If you found these strategies helpful for navigating uncertainty, share this episode with your team. I'm Tommy Zai. Go be prepared.